everyone. Are you a law student who is constantly looking for internships? Worry not. Today, we are going to cover all your problems, ranging from what kind of firms to pick, how to build a professional network through it, common mistakes that you should avoid as a law student or graduate, to building good resumes. For this, we have an expert with us. We have Zafar Khurshid. He is senior partner and co-founder of TKC Partners LLP. He has a firm background in constitutional law, competition, PILs, commercial arbitration, and much more. So, welcome, Zafar.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm quite flattered to be called an expert on the topic. I don't know about that, but I certainly hope that I can offer some advice that will give some real positive and constructive takeaways for our, the next generation of law students and graduates.
Would you like to add on to something, before we begin?
No, I think, I thank you for that introduction. I think that's quite a flattering and generous one. I would just like to say that, yes, I've been in the legal practice since 2011 now. And of course, we've seen many waves of graduates and interns and law students who are coming into the profession. And I'm very happy that they have a resource. I mean, this is certainly LawWiser. It's not a resource that was available to us when we were interning and we were in our graduation and just out of law school. And I'm very glad that these resources are now available for the newer graduates, for the newer law students. And I hope they take full advantage of them. And I'm very happy to be able to make some contribution to that.
True, I totally agree with that because I passed out in 2020. It's not that long ago, but I do understand when you're a law student, it's very important to get guidance at that time because not everybody belongs to a legal background or from the law family. So that's where, your role comes in now. So to kick off our discussion, let's talk about what should law students look for in an internship program and what types of firms should they actually consider, which will help them in the future.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a very broad question, and I think that the answer won't necessarily be the same for everyone. So it's important to remember that because there's not just one path. You should keep your options open and consider many different options rather than being told that you have to apply for the top 10 firms and you have to apply to certain firms. You have to do certain kind of internships. And that's the only way that you will, be hireable, because of course it's great to have growth, it's great to learn, but I know that a driving force behind internships for a lot of law students is, will it look good on my CV? Will I be hireable afterwards? So keep it in mind that there's not just any one path. Explore and ask questions and figure out which is the path that's correct for you. As for general advice, it's important to consider what are your long-term goals. Now, when you're in law school, you may not know this. You may not know outright that I want to be in, company law. I want to practice corporate law. I want to be in litigation. I want to be in IP. If you are certain about what you want in the future, that's great, and work towards that. But don't confine yourself, because I think that when you're in law school and the opportunities that you have with internships is to really challenge yourself and broaden your horizons. The aim of an internship is for you to learn something that you're not able to learn while studying your legal curriculum.
True.
And that's the focus with which you should apply for internships. Yes, aim for the big 4, aim for the top 10, but if you don't get them, it's not the end of it. Focus on internships where you feel that will really be able to help you answer the questions that you may have, which is that, am I interested in a particular kind of practice? Maybe I want to learn more about it, something that I've never experienced before. Maybe I want to challenge my conceptions of what it'll be in the profession. So these are important questions to keep in mind. Another factor, of course, when deciding where you might want to intern is, it's good to get a taste of what practicing the law is in reality. It's, when we're deep in academia, we study the law theoretically. And of course, that's a practice that at one level or another will continue throughout your life and career as a lawyer, as an advocate. But it's also a very healthy and very good learning during an internship to find out what are the practical realities of a path that you might be considering. There are there can be hurdles, there can be obstacles, and there can be, work life balance issues that you don't necessarily know while you're in academia, and it can be a little late to discover them when you start your first job. So it could be a good idea to intern somewhere to really get a good idea of what is it like in that life. Do I want to commit to a life of litigation? It means long hours, it means odd hours, it means
Yeah.
working 6 to 7 days a week. This is not something that everyone might be used to.
True.
But if a competitive or intensive internship, it can at least help you find out, ask yourselves internally questions. Is this something that I'm looking for? If I choose this path, will I be able to have the work life balance that I'm looking for in my career? And for better or for worse, it might prepare you for some harsh realities of a particular choice.
So internships, basically, what I feel from my experience, I feel that it actually makes your mind very sorted in a way that, okay, I have tried IPR, I have tried litigation. Okay, maybe litigation is not my thing, not my cup of tea. So at least you're very clear before you apply for a job. You actually know what's the reality. So I think you summed it up really well. It was a great advice, excellent advice, Zafar. But also, one more thing. Now, I would like you to cover the point wherein, in our field, it's very important to build relationships. It's to build professional networks and making connections within the legal industry. And it's very crucial for law students to create that relationship, that professional relationship or bond. So, how can they effectively use the opportunity of internship to create that relationship with somebody or a professional network? How to accomplish the this area?
I think that's a good question. How do you convert an internship into growing your network, growing your access base? It's not the easiest task. I will advise you that it's not the easiest task.
Yeah.
As an intern, when you're working in an office, you could be working in an office with 3 to 5 people. You could be working in an office with upwards of 50 people, but your one-on-one interaction will, for the most part, be quite limited. And certainly in bigger offices, your access to someone at a partner level or at a senior partner level, it's quite difficult. So
Yeah.
you have to take advantage of the opportunities that you do have. And actually, it can be a lot easier to interact at that level, for example, with someone who's only a few years in the profession themselves, or is at a comparatively junior level in a large firm or in a chamber. Because they may not necessarily be as overburdened with work, or be drawn away with larger issues that are confronting their team, and they may have time to talk to you one on one about professional issues, about academic issues, and be able to guide you through what are the things that are awaiting you just 1, 2, or 3 years in the future. So it's important to take advantage of those connections, especially because if things go well for them and they work hard, those juniors, those associates will be partners someday. So take advantage of that, connect with them on one-on-one. Don't discount that interaction just because you think I want to be in the room with a partner, I want one-on-one time with the senior advocate. Don't
True.
discount connections that you can make at the junior level. Each of us that's in a profession now, I'm helping lead my own team and my own firm now. When it comes to work where I have to collaborate, I reach out to people who are coming up at the same time as me. I don't reach out to someone who's 10 years my senior. The connections that matter to me are the people who were in law school with me, the people who were in my LLM with me, and the people who were in the chamber or in the other offices at the same level. Because that's who I know I can connect with. That's who I know that I can share work with and collaborate with,
Yeah.
without fear of losing a client, losing work, or being overshadowed. So that's one, I think that's an advantage that interns can take, is to connect with people at that level. Other than that, I'll be honest, a lot of internships won't give that many networking opportunities.
Right.
But you should keep your eyes open for what are the connections that you can get outside of the physical internship. Uh, Many chambers and offices and firms are involved with lectures, with moot court competitions, with lectures, with seminars that they do. Even senior advocates chambers, for example, there's the annual Luthra Memorial Moot competition. There's the Singhvi Memorial Lectures. Now, if you're working or associated with any such chamber, these are very good opportunities. You should volunteer to help organize or be part of the be part of the efforts that organize these functions, because that will definitely open up opportunities. That will give you access to events, give you
Right.
access to a lot of people, at a physical event that you may not necessarily have the opportunity to attend otherwise. Those are good networking opportunities.
The idea should be to learn, and that can only come with people who are sitting with you. Maybe, because I think once, I mean, during a time you're doing internships and you're going for an internship, it's definitely not very easy to directly go to a partner or the owner of the firm. So it comes with the associates who are there around you. So you need to start knowing them and understand how they also work, because
Yes,
obviously everybody has to go through that stage first.
let's be honest, apart from client briefings that you may be allowed to attend,
Okay.
you will have maybe one or two one-on-one meetings, or group meetings with that senior during the 1 month internship that you have. It'll probably be a similar situation with a partner at a firm. However, with a junior associate or with an associate, you will have upwards of multiple hours of interaction with them every
Yeah,
day. So take
exactly.
advantage of that time.
Right.
It's great if you get the opportunity, capitalize on it. You get time with the big names, capitalize on that.
How collaboration between law schools and firms is vital to ensure that law students have access to quality internship opportunities. So, how can basically law firms work together to facilitate this?
Absolutely. I think it's very key that your law school, or a committee or body within the law school itself makes that effort. It can be very daunting for people to be able to access larger law firms,
Yeah.
and certainly we all have to be aware of the realities that, especially for those who are first generation lawyers who don't come from a legal background,
Yeah.
how do you access those circles? How do you break through to even get your CV in front of someone who might consider it? Let's put aside someone who can make a call or make a request on your behalf. I mean, everyone's going to play the cards they have, but not everyone gets dealt the same cards, and that's a reality. And your law school is someone who can really help bridge that gap. So certainly, you as students must compel your programs, must compel your institutions to create uh, create those links. And law schools are definitely people who can. As a firm, if I am approached by a law school that says, well, we'd really like to collaborate with you, and we appreciate the areas of practice you have, we'd like to be able to send one intern per quarter, or one intern a month, or one intern every other month to you. That's a collaboration that's infinitely possible with small or medium, or or upwards sizes of firms, or chambers, or individual practices. It's absolutely something that can be done. And if you're a good law school, law school with an up and coming reputation, most most practitioners won't just brush that opportunity aside. I think a lot of them would consider it. We would certainly consider it, because getting quality interns is not as easy as you think. And
Yeah.
frankly, a lot of certainly a lot of small or mid-size, I'm going to stay away from the word firm, because I don't necessarily want to only talk about firms, because internship opportunities are across the board for
Yeah.
law students. So I'm going to say that a lot of teams, or a lot of bodies, institutions, they don't know how to access good interns, and
Um,
they don't necessarily have the bandwidth to weed through dozens of applications or scores of applications to find out and do interviews to find out who's good. If they can rely on a law school to run their own internship program and then know that the law school is sending them the best of the best, or the law
Yeah.
school is sending them who they're looking for. I mean, if you're in direct with the law school, you can identify to them what kind of intern you're looking for. You can identify that you're looking for someone for a particular team,
Yeah.
and they you with someone who they know has that interest. So if law schools make that commitment, and I think that if your law school doesn't have that sort of commitment or team already, it's the students who have to ask for it, because it's not the law firms that are going to go to a Bennett University or a JNU or a DU or a Jindal. It's not the firms or practitioners who are going to go to them. It's always going to be the other way around.
Yeah.
So push your institutions, talk to your law schools about reaching out, about building those relationships. And they may not know how to do it, but it all has to start somewhere. Everyone has to
Yeah.
take a first sometime or
Yeah,
the other.
because I also feel that, during our college time, what we concentrate on mostly is the the theoretical part. It's not only about cramming the sections, going and just writing it in the paper. It's actually law is more about practice, theory. Until and unless you like go to the court, you will never get to know what law is. So I think if we incorporate this somewhere during the college times only, we definitely will become better lawyers and we have a better sense of what law is about.
That actually reminds, I mean, that evoke reminds me of something that very, very recently, and a lot of you may have seen it, has come out, is some criticism of the BCI's involvement with planning LLB curriculums. And
Yeah,
I agree, there is a heavy focus on subject matter that for most people is useful in litigation or in the litigation associated or litigation allied fields. Don't necessarily, law schools, especially 3 year courses where you have less time, they don't necessarily focus on subjects that might interest or might expand your knowledge base outside of litigation. I think a majority of it is dedicated to subjects that will come in handy. If you know them like the back of your hand, they'll come in handy in litigation, and you will
yeah.
will almost never use them otherwise. Every lawyer should have a foundation in the core subjects of law. But let's be honest with ourselves, as a corporate lawyer, you're never going to look at the CPC. It's just not.
Yeah, true. I do agree with you big time because I mean, during the college time, when I used to think, okay, CPC, CRPC, this is the most important thing that I need to know. But once you step out of it, I mean, okay, you get to know, okay, you can carry barracks to the court. So why was I literally cramming them for my exam? So definitely, it was a different harassment altogether. So
There is a lot. If for those of you who are interested in history, there's a long history of rote learning has come to be the foundational teaching method in India, and how it actually dates back to the introduction of British rule and British
yeah,
standardization of education. And it's very ironic that the Western countries don't believe in rote education, but India is so committed to it.
yeah,
But to come back to what we were addressing, I certainly think that yes, code craft, getting access, getting exposure to code craft is very important. So
very
while
important.
universities focus on designing courses that can at least le- uh, lend some sort of experience or access to law students, even outside of internship, to code craft.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, these days now more and more we're moving towards hearings, especially in the Supreme Court, being publicly available to be viewed.
yeah.
I don't think we're that far away from. It'll be like lawyers watching Monday night game footage, and it's something that interns can also do. Maybe interns can take the time now outside of curriculums to study code craft. You don't have an internship, you should be watching the Supreme Court hearings.
I would also like to know what are the some common mistakes that law students make when it comes to applying for internships. Like they do not know how to present their resume, a fresher resume. So what should they actually focus on?
Yeah, common mistakes. Well, there can be a lot, but let's try and focus on the larger ones. One mistake, and this is not necessarily in most people's control, but one mistake I find, from being from a litigation background, is interns who want to do their internships during their breaks. That's great, unless the break also lines up with the court break, because what happens then is you get a fraction of the experience you could. Apart from the fact that if courts are not sitting and not everyone is has that heavy a workload in the vacation benches, because not everyone is necessarily practicing in those areas, or lawyers themselves want to go on holiday. So you
Yeah.
often interning in an office where half the associates are off or some of the partners are gone, automatically you've been deprived of a large chunk of what that internship could have offered you if you went when court is sitting. So yes, please, if especially for those from a litigation background, aim to do an internship while the courts are on, because the exposure is infinitely different. It's infinitely this is less of a concern if you want to work in a corporate firm, or a firm that has a litigation as well as mixed corporate practice or an arbitration practice. But certainly for litigation, that's very important. So I do find that for a lot of students, they feel like, well, we have to attend classes, we can't do both. Many offices will allow you to join from the afternoon. They don't necessarily need you there all day.
Yeah.
Court sit till 4:30, so that doesn't also mean that you can't have experience of court craft, can't have experience of court appearances if you're going for classes in the morning. Yes, it's that's a lot of commitment. You're young and you want to have fun, and you don't necessarily want to work yourself that hard, because trust me, you'll be working that hard once you leave school anyway. But it is worth it. It is absolutely worth putting in that effort. So I think that that's one mistake that people who are applying for internships should try and avoid. um, another one that I find is that, of course, don't choose quantity over quality. It's I would much rather interview an applicant who has interned at one good firm, or even if it's not a well-known firm, but has interned there for a longer stretch of time, say 2 months or 3 months. Someone who has interned at a firm for 6 months, this obviously also depends on the firm. But if you apply for it, and if you're good, if you do a good job in that first month, most firms will happily keep you on for another one, because firms also, at least especially smaller firms, we don't enjoy turnover. We have an intern who's handing in brilliant research, who's genuinely being able to assist the associates, and they say, can I stay on for another month? I'll be the first one to say yes, absolutely, because I'm getting a lot out of that person as well.
Yeah.
It's important for you to remember, as an intern, you are a resource. It's not just the other way around. The firm is not, it's not just you looking for something from the firm. The firm would also look for something from you. So one mistake certainly is people who have 15 internships on their CV, but some of them are 2 weeks, most of them are 1 month. I think that if you try and commit and you work it out to have a longer internship somewhere, your growth will also be exponential, because most of the things that we work on, whether it's on the corporate side where you're talking about a transaction, or it's a litigation side where you're talking about a case, nothing happens in a month. In that 1 month, you will have such little exposure to one particular thing.
And yeah, I also agree with this on this point that yes, you have to go and ask for work. Nobody is going to come and give you work. I mean, they only want people, good firms only want people who are interested in learning.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely, that's absolutely the case. But you also can't discount the fact that, especially if there's a heavy workload, everyone there is already doing a job. So to be able it's an extra task on their plate for the day to work with you
To
and teach.
go and give you some work, yeah.
If you allow them to get away with not doing that task, they will. That is exactly what they'll do. They will focus on the work that their partner has assigned them or their senior associate has assigned them. They will focus on that first. They will focus on you second.
Yeah.
That's, it's not out of any ill will. That person's also just trying to do their job. So you have to remind them that you're there, that you're a resource that they should use, and always make it clear that that's the case. Make it clear
Yeah.
that you're here to learn from them, but you also want to contribute to what they're doing. And I think that if they see you as someone who's contributing rather than distracting, that's how you make an impression.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you cleared it up so well. So I think we're just going to sum it up here. And thank you so much, Zafar, for answering the questions. I hope it helps a lot of students and it covered their doubts surrounding internships, what actually should be done, what shouldn't be done, how to approach firms, and much more. So thank you so much, Zafar, for joining today. And for other people who are watching the session, if you have any questions, do let us know in the comments below and we will be happy to answer it.
I was going to make the same suggestion because I know that this is a short session and we've hopefully covered some actionable points that everyone that will give everyone some food for thought. But yeah,
Yeah.
if specific questions that follow on for this, that would be great. I'm more than happy to collaborate, try and help address some more specific queries for the young minds out there.